Welcome back to This Day Live. I'm Reuben Abati here in Lagos. Now, former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, is on a mission to make people think before they tweet. And as she put it, that includes President Donald Trump of the United States.
Number one.
On Wednesday, the former First Lady took to the stage at the Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago to talk about the dangers of social media and the importance of using each platform intelligently. Michelle Obama claimed she wasn't speaking about anybody in particular, but the audience's amused reaction suggested he had interpreted her comments as a thinly veiled attack on Trump's infamous Twitter habits. She went on to say that social media is a powerful weapon and highlighted the burden it places on people. Facebook, which is constantly testing new products and features, also seems to be gearing up for a few new experiments. Among these products is a red envelope feature that will enable users to send money to each other over the platform, as well as a new breaking news tag option that users will use to attach hot news stories to their posts. The two new features, which haven't yet been officially released or even mentioned by Facebook, were first spotted by the director of social media at the online publication The Next Web, Matt Navarra. Navarra, who routinely tweets about unreleased products and features he finds in Facebook's code or through other means, shared screenshots of the features to his Twitter account yesterday. Still on social media, can social bots, pieces of software that perform automated tasks, influence humans on social media platforms? That's a question congressional investigators are asking social media companies ever since fears emerged that they were deployed in 2016 to influence the presidential election in the United States. A representative for Facebook was on the hot seat on Tuesday over questions of whether the company took enough steps to limit Russian influence on political content during the 2016 election in the United States. The company, along with representatives of Twitter and Google, faced the Senate Judiciary Committee members in the first of public hearings on the use of their platforms by Russian sources to try to influence the 2016 election. On Wednesday, the companies are sending representatives to the U.S. Senate and the House Intelligence Committee hearings on similar topics after having met with lawmakers in private earlier this fall. Now, all of this is from the United States. But the whole point that you take from there is that the social media has become very influential. And it is now at the very center of democracy, not just in the United States, in Spain, in South Africa, in Liberia, in Ghana, in Kenya, and even more tellingly, in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, the authorities have had cause to complain about fake news, okay, and the menace of the social media. And persons who manage the media for government officials, I think their biggest terror, their biggest nightmare you know, is the social media. Well, you work with a startup tech company. Now, the social media appears to be posing a threat to our democracy.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it's a threat. Social media has democratized voices, and it's allowed people, what people say privately to now be open, and in a way has brought those voices together as one in many ways. We can go back to one of the significant influence of social media in the Arab uprising. Everybody was ailing that because it changed the government. It changed a lot of things. It mobilized people to unseat long-standing dictatorship. Now, the rooster is coming on. We're seeing the influence of it in politics in America. Although we can see people that are using it maliciously through bot or another foreign government influencing democracy in America. But fundamentally, social media can be used for good. It's just democratizing voices. We've seen it help people to build companies, to get access to markets that they would not have access to improve life, to actually hold government accountable, like to bring back our gas movement, and many things like that. So it's like any other thing that we can use, and it depends on how people are using it. But I don't think we should see it as a threat at all.
But doesn't it promote the politics of contempt?
Of course, like anything
else. The politics of contempt.
I think it does. And I think we just need, the surprise is what I guess is my surprise. Because technology, social media, it's a tool used by human beings. So to the degree, as you said, that you want to use it for good, Then, like the Bring Back Our Girls movement, which was about raising awareness and keeping the Chibok girls situation in the limelight, it worked. You get a hashtag that trends, people jump on it. Michelle Obama
I see you are wearing
I always do. I always do. I always wear my badge.
She hasn't visited Sambisa.
And so I do my job to go to Sambisa. But when the federal government took some of us, we went. So don't go there. Don't go there. But back to your point as well, it is also can be used for evil. Yeah. So I think for me, the discussion really is not around will it, can it, is it a threat? Yeah. As long as human beings can use the tool to propagate their own intentions and their own wishes, then that will be there. The question should then be, how do we mitigate them? How do we prepare for it? I've been telling people, I mean, for Nigeria, it's not even Facebook. What's going to be the biggest source for fake news for us leading up to the 2019 elections is WhatsApp. Because the ease with which you can broadcast rubbish as gospel is, so what Facebook was to America is what WhatsApp is going to be for Nigeria. Because people get information, you word it the right way, use the right stories, and then feeding on people's already perceived notions. Yes. Build on that, and all people just do is forward. I know the number of things I get sent to me, and I'm like, for the love of God, did the person really believe this enough to send it to me? But, so that's...
And I think the people that ask the question whether it's a threat, in my opinion, are people who are losing ground on the gatemanship. So in the past, there are only very few gatemen that hold the public opinion. I think so. Yeah, I think so, to some extent. So in the past, you only have the newspaper, you have a billboard, and you have few people that can actually... So in the past, when there's coup, people will go to... The coup plotters will go to the radio station because that's the mass media. Now, if there's any coup, you actually want to go to the Facebook or Twitter and stuff. And the people that are being threatened, yes.
Good point.
People that are being threatened...
Social media has truly turned the world into a village.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you are just... a second away,
yes.
Right? So great achievement for technology. It's also a great tool of entertainment. People these days, I mean, they have a lot of fun. Just,
Snapchat. Honestly, I don't know what you guys think.
But Wale, what is truth? That's one question that the social media has thrown up. No, it's even more relative now and more opaque.
Yeah, it's relative.
Because the point then becomes you can't, whereas you're, in a sense, newspapers there used to be some sense of truth. Like if I wanted to know the facts about the situation, you know that if you go here, you'll get it. But now...
Because it's an editor.
Yeah, but now, as you said, truth is relative. Your truth can be different from my truth. I mean, I don't know what article was I was reading that said, because you are playing with a different set of facts that has been presented to you. Now, the set of facts presented to me, when we then have a conversation, and then when we have a conversation, we can never agree. Because our starting base for the debate or coming to a compromise is different.
And,
that's a problem.
Maybe I should rephrase the question. Okay. I was trying to get you guys to talk about ethical standards on social media. Because, yes, we've said a lot of positive things. But it's like social media is also used to mislead people. In an election, you could choose the wrong president. You could vote for the wrong candidate because you have been misled. How does that help our democracy?
I think it's way too technical to apply here. Rather, I think we'll talk about control, which has been my worry.
But again, control for who's controlling what?
The point he's trying to make, which I agree with partially, is that because I have a phone, and I can sit on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, in my comfort of my room, and just literally be tweeting lies that I know are lies that are formulated.
Because in the past, I could do that as well. I could go to the Olaleye and be shouting that everybody's mad. But then I don't have the platform to do that now. So in the past, if I want to publish that in a newspaper, there's an editor who is very learned who can say, but now there's no editor.
That's the point he's making.
So that ethics would determine.
So how do we?
No. So my own thing is that there's nobody that can determine that ethics. Okay. So good and savvy political strategists or public should be on Facebook and be controlling the debate and also be shaping the narrative. They need to do well, not by stopping the social media, but shaping the narrative. Shaping the narrative.
How?
I don't think we should stop it.
That the former president signed before he left. I'm in support. When you're certain and you're sure that this is outright lies, and then you still went ahead and published it, I think you should face the consequences.
It could be used for evil. It could
That's
be
the
used
problem.
by
Exactly. So I hear you. You're right. But when there are now gray lines where I
my truth
impose, where I assume for you that you deliberately lied.
Yes.
So yes, let's for the sake of argument said what you published is wrong. And then I decide that you knew.
Like in the case of the newspaper, we're talking about the appointments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I decide that you deliberately did it.
Yeah.
That's where government controlling that in this our context, we're extremely dangerous.
Yes.
Because they just need to decide that I don't like you, therefore I knew you deliberately did it.
Because it's
Yeah,
infringing on
where
freedom
do
of
you
the
draw the
press.
line?
Exactly.
It's not
Yes.
just about using social media for public protest.
Yeah.
It's also used to malign people.
Yes.
A lot of people have been defamed
But we have
on
laws.
social
We
media.
have libel laws. Then
Yes.
take the person to court.
Yes.
That for me is not a reason to control social media.
That's true.
The laws, if you have maligning, libel, whatever is it, the court, you can take the person to court. And if somebody sits in jail for 3 years, I'm sure other people would reset their
As
brains.
effective
Yeah,
as you
but I
would
don't think
rather
we should
the
be
cybercrime
thinking
law.
about controlling the social. We should be engaging and actually shaping the narrative for good, because these people are writing lies.
Honestly, I think there's need for
But,
control.
but I think the thing...
There is need,
I completely disagree.
arguably,
No control.
a need for
but
control.
To your point, though, I think the people who can control the narrative, I think are fewer and probably don't realize the magnitude of work that they need to do. So we're getting caught up in the
Even
fake
the
news.
language
Or
used.
because they are steep in the past, thinking that if they have dinner or play golf with the editor of these other big newspapers, then they can control narrative that
But it's
way.
not just
They're
beyond that, because you're
engaging.
not forget that level.
The
Because now you're talking
word
about
you've been
citizens.
using,
Yeah.
You're talking about
the word you've
citizens
been
now.
using has been control.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess if we switch the words, you are talking about censorship,
Exactly.
you are talking about regulation.
Yes, regulation,
yeah.
Regulation.
Because
yes,
control could be a
regulation.
form of self-censorship.
Well, yeah, no, that's where he
No,
was going.
regulation. I'm just worried because the slant we have assumed now is so worrisome that if we don't do something now, we are heading for the rod soon.
But then we can go to the other swing, like in Cameroon, when the government shut down the internet of a particular region for a long time. Or in Kenya, sometimes before the election, the government shut down. That is infringing on freedom of the press.
Oh,
Exactly.
no.
No, but let me even use the presidency. Let's say one good thing.
There's no right that is absolute.
No, it's true. No, but Cameroon is an extreme example of controlling, especially when it was done in a particular part of the country, not nationwide. So in a country that's francophone and anglophone, you decide the anglophone side is being a bit too vocal, and you shut them down. That's a problem. But if you look at the presidency in Nigeria, for example, they have also taken a step in terms of really just trying to get ahead of fake news.
Yes.
So instead of being quiet when things are flying all over social media, they're now taking pictures and using graphics, using cartoons to actually point and correct people. Now that's what not just the presidency, but citizens. I mean, as an organization, one of the things we used to say is that social media will self-correct, that eventually people will know the truth. But we realize that that's no longer true. Because we can't just leave it and assume at some point...
That's where I totally agree with you.
Let's look at another dimension of this. Wale, you are a practicing journalist. There are people who fear that the social media poses a threat even to established institutions like the press, like the broadcast medium, because now, you have television on the social media, and in fact, the idea of journalism has become something flexible. It looks like everybody is now a journalist.
Citizens journalism.
So gone are those days when you can come and say, oh, I'm a journalist. Almost everybody here now is a journalist. But what do you think? What do you think?
I agree, but we haven't reached that point. I agree that ultimately we'll get there. But for now, to that point where the traditional media will be in serious threat of the influential media.
You don't perceive the threat now?
No, not yet. Because now what they do is that they break the stories, we validate. So you still have some people, I mean, like the ones we're talking about, who still wait for some newspapers to say, no, okay, social media, not until I read from so newspaper. Not like, I watch on the channels TV.
But some people don't even read newspapers anymore.
They get
their news from
the other angle
smartphone.
to it is that we also have our own social media, string to what we do. This day, channels, TV, and all that. So even if you can't,
you mean Arise TV?
Arise TV and all that. So if you can't trust really those faceless and the nondescript ones, and then you can as well just Arise TV. Then you find the news there, and then you're sure that whatever you find on Arise is authentic. You go to This Day Life, whatever, the breaking news will be there, you find it. So they break, we validate. We see validate, even with our online stream.
But I think there's a threat to your business model. Because fundamentally, the business model...
Not now. Not now.
Where is the eyeball going to? Most of the eyeballs. You know, you have those people who want to validate the truth. But majority of the eyeball, where are they going to?
Full-page ads within Nigeria. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
I agree. I see the future. No, I agree, but not now.
No, let's rephrase it. Well, you are a consumer of news. Which medium do you rely on most these
Online,
days?
I have my news aggregated from Apple News. And although, back to your point, I will read news that's from CNN or Guardian. But it's online, right?
People will call me to say, there's this thing flying around and all that.
But having said that,
I'm looking at they break it, we validate. We are still validating.
For me, part of the fundamental thing around, especially Nigerian platforms, is the way they use social media. It doesn't engage.
It's
just post. You're posting me a link, a story. It's nothing interesting. It's not. So yes, the breaking. You're right. It's good for breaking news.
Yes.
And so I get my breaking news from Twitter or whatever it is. Yeah. But there's nothing engaging about the platforms and the people managing in terms of how are you presenting the story in a different way rather than sending me to a long article. So you're taking me back to the paper.
Yes.
So I think that's part of where that disconnect is.
So my point is, again, about the fact that where are the eyeballs staying the most? Okay, the top 10 most visited websites in Nigeria. There will be some newspapers there. I think there are a lot of newspapers there. But in aggregate, most people that go to the internet in Nigeria are not visiting the newspapers. Yeah, and at the end of the day, the money will follow where the eyeballs is going to.
Yeah, but it also depends on the eyeballs' ability to purchase.
Yes.
Even some of these guys.
Yes.
So which is why I keep saying not now. He's saying the same thing. He says not now, so that means it's coming. Eventually.
Well, in fact, one of us wrote that the last newspaper will be published in the year 2030. I don't know whether that, you know, it's an essay titled The Dying Newspaper.
Even abroad, we see people on the train stations and the bus.
They're now free.
They are free, of course. We read and then you jump in there and then you move on.
In terms of governance, how can governments, institutions, like electoral bodies and all that, use the social media more effectively and prevent the kind of, you know, what looks like a crisis that they have now in the United States over the abuse of the social media?
We need to stop being afraid of it. It is here to stay. It is not going anywhere. It is not going to be censored or controlled. Instead of hiding under hoping that one day that's what's going to happen, they should, one, accept that this is where we are, number one. Number two, they should get ahead of it and make it. I mean, the gentleman, for example, who was handling EFCC, the Financial Crimes Commission, the gentleman that was handling their Twitter account for a while, he was fantastic. Because a good mix of information plus humor. So people wanted to listen to him and wanted to know what he had to say. And he was educating and passing information along. So they need to get to a place where they understand, like, look, this is where... And then, I mean, we talk about how the mix of politics and humor, especially in the Nigerian context, understand how to use humor and use it to pass information along, how to use graphics. So they need to just own the space and control the narrative. Control the narrative, which they don't. So
that's what I want to say.
They're forever on the back pedal. It's until things have gone. I mean, look at these. Saying another thing. And then, or even this appointment thing. This appointment thing has been going on with this administration for easily over a year. But it took Business Day's article for this response. If, for example, from the very beginning, as they're making appointments, they're updating a chart, they're updating that chart they finally released, then easily, there's no way Business Day could have
I think the key point is having an open society.
Yes.
And ensuring that every tool, every institution, one way or the other, promotes the cause of democracy, liberal democracy. You are watching This Day Live, this Sunday talk show, here on the Arise News with me, Reuben Abati. We're going to take a short break again. You stay with us.